Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 9 of the Washington Nationals Dynasty GM mode in MVP Baseball 2005. We are here in the month of September. We've went through the first couple weeks of September. They haven't been super kind to us. We started off with that sweep at the hands of the Phillies before splitting a series with the Marlins, and we just completed a sweep of, I believe it's the Braves. It's hard to tell the logo behind the W or L grayed out little graphic, but yeah, I believe we swept the Braves. So we're getting into game one of this series against the New York Mets, who are currently playing for their playoff lives. I think they are still very much alive in the playoff race here, potentially wild card, or I don't know if the division is still in play for the Mets. I think the Phillies have that one pretty well in hand, unless the Mets have a great September, which is possible. And it could all start in this series today that we are having here in New York at Shea Stadium, good old Shea Stadium. It's only around for a few more years before they would finally blow it to smithereens. But we're going to get right into the Mets' first frame on offense anyway. And Sean Hill, who had a good month last month, is going to be taking the bump today for us. For the Nationals, and let's see if he can give us some good innings, hopefully plural, some good innings plural against these Mets, because they have a great lineup. I mean, starting off with Victor Diaz at second, who already in an 0-1 count here, up against Hill. Hill sends his pitch, and it is rocketed up the middle, and it's not really fielded cleanly by Guzman. Guzman kind of has to tuck and roll into that, and the tag is not in time. The throw is really just off kilter and pulls Nick Johnson off of the bag, and Diaz is able to reach safely to first. So Miguel Cairo now is up to bat in a 3-0 count. Sean Hill almost walks him, and he does walk him with a four-seamer that goes down, that never really comes back up. It just keeps trailing downward. And so now the Mets load 2 aboard with Carlos Beltran. Good old Carlos Beltran stepping up to bat here in a 1-2 count against Hill, and this one is rocketed in the gap out to left field, and it is going to be a base hit, and everyone is going to be safe. So the bases are now loaded for Sean Hill in the bottom of the first, and not a great place to be in, as Beltran finds the perfect amount of open space and grass to get into the outfield for a base hit. So not a great hit ball. It was weak contact, but it is still more than good enough to get on base. So David Wright, now the third baseman for the Mets, is now up to bat here in a 1-0 count. Bases loaded, and he rockets this one high up in the air, but that one's going to safely fall into Andy Chavez's glove in center, but that is going to allow the leadoff man to go home safely. So it is a sac fly for the Mets to get their first run, and now Mike Cameron, the right fielder, is now up to bat with runners at second and first. And Cameron takes this four-seamer down low again for a walk, and so Sean Hill just not really able to locate that four-seamer so far in this game. It's been rough for him locating that pitch. So Cliff Floyd, we know the power that Cliff Floyd has, Mr. Floyd, but it is a 2 outs in the bottom of the first. If Sean Hill can just get out, and then he gives an absolute meatball to Cliff Floyd with the bases loaded, and that one rockets off the batter's eye, and it is well out of play for a grand slam for the Mets. It's a first inning grand slam. Send up the home run apple. There it is. Jeez, man, Cliff Floyd. If you watch the sim games that I post on my channel, the Marlins series, you've seen all the Cliff Floyd homers for the Mets. He just continued doing the same thing. And right here, Sean Hill got a perfect taste of just how much power Cliff Floyd has. Just banks it right off the batter's eye, man. An absolute moonshot, 415 feet, I think it was. And so they're going to talk to Sean Hill, man, see if they can rattle some of the cobwebs, I guess. I don't know. He just came in cold, but he did not have a good positive reaction to it. And so now the pitcher here, the Mets pitcher, is finally up to bat, and he sends a comebacker up the middle, and it's going to be good for a base hit. So he's going to load another man aboard, Sean Hill is, after the meeting here to Traskell, the Mets pitcher. And now our manager says, no, that's enough, dude. We're done here. So Sean Hill doesn't even make it out of the first inning before we have to go to the bullpen and bring in TJ Tucker, who's been one of the better relievers here. He's kind of struggled in August, heading into September. So Victor Diaz, who kind of started things off earlier in this inning, finally lines one over to third, and we get the out at second to finally get out of the inning. So TJ Tucker comes in and throws a pitch or two, and is able to finally get us out of the first inning, already in a 5-0 hole, man. And we're just going to continue on with more Mets destruction on offense as Mike Piazza leads things off for us in the bottom of the second with 2 outs and a man on first, and Piazza lines this one over Guzman's head right into the gap in left field, and that is going to send the leadoff man around third, and he's going to get in safely to home as Piazza is barely safe at second. The tag just barely missed here. It was a good relay to second, but yeah, the tag is just not there at second. So Piazza's going to be safe, and then that's going to be just about it for. So our manager says, nope, I'm done. I'm tired of seeing this stuff. And he's going to go argue with the ump. And as far as I know, I don't think an ejection happened, but he definitely gave him an earful. So 6-0 here, but we finally going to get some offense here from the Nationals as Endy Chavez absolutely carries this one, pulls it out all the way to right field, and sends that one into the bullpen. Just an absolute moonshot, 384 feet deep down the right field line. And just inside pitch, just turns on it, man. Just absolutely turns on it and pulls it all the way to the bullpen. So we finally get a little bit of offense here from the Nationals bats here. We've been kind of desperately searching for that, and we finally get some. And that's going to bring up Nick Johnson, our first baseman here, in a 6-1 game here in the top of the fourth. Nick Johnson sends this one the other way. It's another inside pitch, kind of awkward, and that one just barely clears the wall by about a foot or two and hits off of that little embankment there, and that's going to be good for another home run, another solo shot for the Nationals. So slowly but surely we're going to generate, I guess, some runs, some offense if possible, but it's a slow roll. We're going to need a little bit more. And now TJ Tucker, the reliever who came in for Sean Hill, he's up to bat in a 3-1 count in the top of the fifth, and he's going to take that four-seamer in the corner, and the pitcher's not going to get the call. I think it's Traskell who's not going to get that call, so it's going to be a walk on TJ Tucker. And now Endy Chavez, who's back up to bat here, is 2 for 2 on the day. He had that home run just a couple innings ago with an opportunity to do more damage, and Chavez lines this one out to right field, and that one's going to be safe for a base hit. So now TJ Tucker and Chavez are aboard at second and first. You'd think maybe a pinch runner situation would be important, but we need TJ Tucker still in the game. So Christian Guzman, the shortstop, is going to step up to bat with his weird stance, and he's going to chop this one awkwardly. It was an inside pitch, but that is going to advance the runner. So very terrible pitch to swing at. I don't know why Guzman would, but I mean, it's essentially a bunt, basically. That's all it was. It was just a bunt, but it's good enough to advance the runner, so I guess we will take that from Mr. Guzman. And that's going to bring up Jose Vidro, one of our, I mean, he is our best hitter in terms of just power and overall production, and he's going to show us exactly why, as this one is rocketed deep to center field, and it is going to hit off of the scaffolding, 407 feet. We answer back with another monster shot out to center field, to left center field. Like Cliff Lloyd had earlier in this game, Jose Vidro says, we can also hit bombs just like you can. And so that is going to make this game a lot more interesting, as the lead now is cut to just 1 as we come to a 5-6 ball game here in the top of the fifth with a man on second, and Jose Guillen absolutely lasers this one to first base, and that is going to end our rally here in the fifth inning, just down 1 run though, so we are still in play here, as much as we would like to believe. But Braden Looper is going to come in the reliever here to try and finish off of this game here late in the 9th inning, and neither team has been able to produce any offense here in the other innings of the game. Chavez is going to ground this one to second, and he's going to be thrown out at first rather easily. And now Christian Guzman is going to step up to a bat, and remember he had that weird chopper to extend the runners earlier in the game, and he strikes out swinging at a 97-mile-per-hour fastball right down the pipe, and that is just a dangerous pitch by Braden Looper. He's just got that kind of gas, and Christian Guzman could not time that fastball up, and catches himself swinging himself into the dirt. And so Jose Vidro, who had the amazing home run earlier in the game here in a 1-2 count, grounds this one over to short, and the relay is to first in time, and he is out. And that is going to just about do it here for your Nationals in New York. So we had a great rally here in the early part of the game. We were able to grind our way back into it here, but the bats just fell silent in the second half of the game. So as unfortunate as that is, we came very close, but even pitching kind of came up after Sean Hill, but that's about it. So we're going to get into the rest of the month of September now and the end of the season. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Nationals series. We are here now, and I guess what will be part 9. The season is over. Now I'm going to see if we can get back to the screen with all the stats and numbers that actually matter to us, but it took me here immediately after submitting the last game, and we're overlooking all of our goals here, and we didn't achieve any of the 3-year contract goals, which we obviously didn't expect to do so. Yeah, I mean, we weren't going to finish top 8 in MVP, even though we did have a lot of players who I think played very well, but definitely not MVP caliber compared to where the rest of the league is at the time. Winning 110 MLB home games, it's not even possible to do in year 1. But we did win 35, so we're going to have to win quite a bit in year 2 to be on pace for year 3, but I think we can still achieve that goal relatively easily. I believe so. If we just win maybe 10 or 15 more games, that'll probably put us in a good position, maybe. Probably a lot more than that. We're going to have to be a lot better next year, I think. And the 480 win percentage, we came in at 426, which isn't bad compared to what they expected, right? So it's bad. We had a bad year. We're 69 and 93, but 426 is still a little bit higher than I guess I figured we would be at. So you see in our division, Atlanta was 76 and 86, and they were at 469. So the 480s, just damn near 500. So we definitely weren't going to get that this year. So. But in the stretch goals, the only stretch goal that we did actually manage to accomplish was leading AAA in shutouts or strikeouts. I think strikeouts. So we had one of the best staffs, or the best staff, I think, in AAA down in New Orleans. And I think those guys, one of them must have absolutely tore up AAA in terms of strikeouts. So we almost met that slug 400 with the AA team, which is interesting, but. Yeah, so we finished 16th in the majors. That's the team rank, which I don't understand. We were 69 and 93. There's no way on God's green earth that you know what I mean, all that encapsulating to be 69 and 93 puts us in the middle of the pack as far as the league is concerned. I think just in terms of record, we're probably like close to 25. That's probably where I would imagine we are. Probably 26, 27 maybe. We're going to have to look at the standings, obviously, but it's giving me the option to hit L2 and R2. Yeah, it looks like I can go through our farm, so I will do so. So the AAA team went 83 and 61. I didn't notice anything about with like minor league playoffs. It gave me like a little blip in September, like, hey, the playoff is set for this time, but I didn't see anything to do with it. I even looked at the calendar. There wasn't any games or anything, so I don't know. But the AAA team finished the best in their division. I think they were one of the better teams in AAA. 83 and 61 is good. So clearly we have some guys sitting down in New Orleans who are ready to absolutely tear things up in D.C., and hopefully they'll be able to do so in the short term after spring training. So our AA team, Harrisburg, the Harrisburg Senators, I believe, were not good. They were not that great. They were a little worse than 500 at 69 and 73. They're ranked somewhere in the middle of the pack. You can see their division just absolutely packed in there. We were second in our division, but still a good probably 20 games away from Akron, who took our division. So, and then in Single A, we did finish first in our division, which I think was good enough for playoffs, I think, because when I looked at the standings, we had the X by our name, so I think they did clinch, the Cannons, they did clinch a playoff spot, I think. But I guess they do that whole first half and second half, so I think in the second half we must have been 39-31, and overall we were 74 and 66 on the year, which is 28th. So I think statistically, all the rankings are all statistics based, I guess. So I guess the team, offensively or pitching wise or defensively, was really, really bad, but just managed to keep winning games. So good for them, I guess. So I'm gonna hit X and see what this takes us into. I don't want to get into any off-season stuff here. I'd really like to just go over. I would really love to just go over the schedule first before we really get into the rest of the season. I would like to do that in the next video. So it looks like I'll be able to go over the schedule before we do all that. So in September, full disclaimer, I did sim this month. I didn't manage these games, and I probably should have, because I probably would have at least gotten us maybe the extra win or two to get us to 70 wins like I wanted. I didn't think that would be the case if I simmed versus managed, because I managed this first Phillies series that we got swept in, and that's why I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to sim it and just see if I can get this done, you know, because the last time when I managed August, man, it took forever to do. It took me like an entire day of playing to do, but so I was like, yeah, you know, I really need to get through, you know, the rest of the season so we can actually get into the serious stuff that we're trying to do, you know, in the subsequent years. So year one is already a wash. We came into September 20 games below 500, managing us to a 14 and 14, a 14 or 13 and 14, whatever, month isn't going to completely change the trajectory of this team. I didn't think it mattered. So even now, I still think it doesn't matter. Just for a personal milestone of reaching at least 70 wins versus 69, nice, was really all that mattered. So looking over here, it was really rough in this Phillies series too, man. Just really brutal. This second game where we got shut out, I mean, that was just, I couldn't get anyone to pitch past an inning, and like no one wanted to hit at all. So But yeah, this is how the month went. So we started the month off by getting swept by the Phillies, because the Phillies have just dominated us all season long. And then we went into Miami. I think this was a home series. I think we played 2 series against the Marlins this month. One was home, one was away. It doesn't matter. But we split that 4-game set with the Marlins here, and then we picked up a sweep over, I think this is the Braves. We swept the Braves, which was what I wanted to do, because I figured if we were going to catch up to the Braves in the standings, at least in the National League East, we would have to probably beat them this month, and we did sweep them, so that's cool. And then we dropped 2 of 3 against the Mets, obviously the first game we showcased, and then the Padres series, we dropped 2 of 3. The Padres, I think, probably ended up winning the NL West, but we will look at the standings. And then this Giants series, we then also dropped 2 of 3 against the Giants. And then, again, lost another series to the Mets. Pretty high offensive affair with the Mets here. And then we lost a 3rd straight series against the Marlins here towards the end of the month before dropping, or actually we won our last series against the Phillies. We took 2 of 3. So that is how the end of our season went down, and I guess now we need to look at our stats. But there's the ranks on the side if you want to see how the team kind of finished off. So we stuck around that 29th spot as far as rotation goes. I'm very curious what team's rotation or pitching staff just got worse than ours. I'm very curious because we have multiple dudes on the team with ERAs well over 5 and 6. So I'm very curious to see how we managed to stick in the 29th spot. Our offense moved up to 6th. Base running stayed around 4. I think it's been around top 5 all year, and the defense went to 23. So that is statistically, I guess, the ranking wise, what boils us to 16. So we have a top 10 offense, but defensively and pitching wise, we are awful. So not surprised. So let's look at the offense here overall, and just we'll see here how that all panned out. So Andy Chavez here, our lead-off hitter, finished the year hitting .308 with 13 home runs. And 66 RBIs. If you care about RBIs, I obviously do not care about RBIs, but it is what it is. 50 stolen bases, bro, is absolutely nuts. He stole 50 bags, which is crazy, man. That's incredible. And then the OPS, obviously, do some quick math in your head, but it's over 800, so that is a good year from Andy Chavez. I'm very happy about that. Christian Guzman hitting only .285. That's a pretty big, steep fall off from where he was when he came back from injury. Maybe, I don't know if rehabbing is a thing, but maybe that's something that should have probably happened. His numbers went down a little bit towards the second half, or not even the second half. I guess it is the second half, the last 2 months of the season. Not great from Christian Guzman, but he's one of those players that's going to be here for a long time, so we'll probably be saddled with this. So I'm not too worried about that. Those are still decent enough numbers. Moving to Jose Vidra, was easily our best hitter of the year, hitting .346, which is absolutely insane. I need to pull up his baseball reference page and see if that's a career best for him. I'm not really sure. At 31, I'd have to imagine it is, but he hit 31 homers, slugging .584, man. Just a great year from Jose Vidra. Yeah, I mean, I think where I had him was pretty decent. I don't think I moved him too much from where the game automatically had him, but I can't really remember. But yeah, putting him in that 3-4 spot is really worked out well for him. He thrived in that role, as I figured he would. Vinny Castilla. Vinny Castilla's season is also pretty interesting. I think he was hitting well over 300 for the first few months of the season, maybe the first couple, and kind of just steadily declined over the course of the second half of the season. Even his OPS isn't super great, it's a little better than average, and the .283 average is pretty good, and also 24 home runs. I'm not mad about either. I want a few guys on the team to have more than 20 home runs. That's kind of ideally, my own personal thing, what I would like to see. And so Vinny Castilla definitely ticked off those boxes. So he even swiped 3 bags. So I'm not super mad at Vinny Castilla's production this season. And this is he's got one more year with us. He's 38. You know what I mean? To get this kind of production from a 38-year-old is pretty great. If the Tigers were getting this kind of production from a 38-year-old Miguel Cabrera, I would have been happy. So that's how I feel about Vinny Castilla today on the Nationals. Moving to Nick Johnson, he missed a good portion of the season with an injury towards the beginning of the season, and he was numbers wise, he was kind of towards the bottom consistently in terms of production on our team, which is still crazy to say because the dude hit .292 this year. But, for a lot of the season, a lot of our best hitters were hitting well over 300, and he just was always kind of consistently hitting in the 250 range to like 270s range, and so he had a really strong second portion of the season. I think really the last month or so he had a good portion of the season. He was hitting a lot of home runs, one which we saw in this episode. Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset with what Nick Johnson did either. Another OPS well over 800, so yeah, this is a great season from first base, so I'm happy about that. So Jose Guillen had also a great year too. I think I was looking back in the last video and he was hitting 311 at the end of August, so average is about the same where it was. 26 home runs, great, love to see it. 12 stolen bases, love that too. Slugging 486, so yeah, I mean, we had a lot of great producers on offense. Nothing to really be mad at. Brad Wilkerson had about the same season as Nick Johnson did. Hit considerably more home runs, though. Stole some more bags, too. Just all around a pretty good offensive offensive-minded player for us. Yeah, I can't say too much bad about that. Same with Brian Schneider, man. I mean, just a great season offensively from your catcher to hit, get 14 home runs, a 294 average. So offense was definitely never really the problem with us in terms of just getting production. Even on our bench here, we're going to look at our bench here. So Gary Bennett, our backup catcher, he even hit 279 here, 8 home runs. Can't be too mad at it. For a backup catcher, he fulfilled his role very well for the team, man. With the numbers, with his attributes, right? Even his attributes, like he overcame that and really kind of gave us a solid, decent season. I don't think a lot of this is probably we can't put a ton of stock in this moving forward in terms of consistency, but some of these guys probably we can. Will Cordero had a good season. He started a lot because of Nick Johnson's injury, and he was a pretty big pinch hitter for us throughout a lot of the season. I know I used him a bunch in the August video, and his numbers are pretty respectable, you know what I mean, for a bench piece, considering how good Nick Johnson was this year offensively. This is a good bench piece to have, a guy who can hit 267 and slug 448, and that's pretty good. I'll take it. Jamie Carroll had a much worse season than I thought he did. I thought his OPS was kind of higher than it was. He's hit around 250 for like the entire season, but I guess I thought his OPS was a little bit higher. It's really not. Out of his 62 hits that he got, none of them were long balls, so that's kind of disappointing to see here. I kind of like more from Jamie Carroll, or just from that bench piece in general. That's probably a guy that we should swap out because we have Will Cordero, kind of a guy that we can maybe swap out for Mateo, who replaced Christian Guzman. He might be a little bit more productive as a utility infield piece than Jamie Carroll was. And then in the outfield, Terminal Sledge, another bench piece here, man. Probably shouldn't have been. This guy could be an everyday player, probably on one of the teams in the playoffs right now. He hit 312. Had a very similar season to Jose Guillen, so that was kind of the funny thing. Either one of those guys, we really couldn't have went wrong with them, but I'm pretty sure Sledge was slugging way better than Guillen was. Same with OBP, actually. We'll compare that here real quick. And yeah, see, there you go. The OBP is almost 100 points higher. Same with the slugging. It is exactly 101 points higher. So, yeah, you really cannot be too mad at that here. I don't think Terminal Sledge would have really done that consistently over a full season. I think because of the limited role that we had him in, he hit so well. I think a full season of Terminal Sledge wouldn't have been anywhere near this good. It's a very small sample size. As you see, he only has 25 hits. So in that platoon like pinch hit role, he absolutely thrived there. He crushed it. But I think an everyday player in our outfield, he probably would have not been so well. And then Henry Mateo, I didn't really send him back down. I probably should have and brought up another arm maybe to help us on the pitching side of things. But yeah, this is kind of his last. It doesn't say games. I wish it put games here because I would love to see how many games. I think if I look at his MLB stats, yeah, 189 games. But that's definitely not how many he played this season. He probably only started, maybe 20 or so games for us this season, if that. So he hit 227, got 15 hits, two long balls, and the OPS is over 700, so just kind of mid here. The average is a little bit lower, so I was kind of hoping for more because his AAA stats were absolutely bonkers, but he's 28 years old, so you would expect that. So we will move now to the pitching side of things, obviously. Livier Hernandez gets his ERA under 6 to end the season. He even picks up a few more wins. I'm pretty sure he was 3-16 or 4. No, he was 5 and I think 16 to end August, so finishing the year 9-17, so he was obviously pretty good, pretty dominant in his last few starts for the season, man. He probably started maybe 3 or 4 more games, probably more than that. And he got the ERA well under 6 here. It's in the mid-5s. Let me see where's his current. I guess that's his current. Yeah, so he threw 190 innings for us, which is great. And got that ERA under 6, so I guess I can't be too mad, but he spent most of the year being awful, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I still don't want you on the team here. I'm still going to let you walk away, because for 280, absolutely not, bro. This is a league minimum type of deal right here, man. You do not deserve any more money than that. Tony Armas Jr. Progressively got a little bit worse. I think his record has kind of always been around that 500 range, which, again, win-loss doesn't really matter that much for a pitcher, but I know in these days it matters a little bit. Not really. But I had 177 innings here. The ERA crept up closer and closer to 5. I think there was a point in the season where it was in like the mid-3s. So, yeah, he really just kind of got worse as the season went on, which is unfortunate. Sean Hill had an absolutely horrendous September, man. His September was completely unacceptable. His ERA was in the low 4s at the end of the August video, and it's almost went up like 2 runs, more a run and a half. It's went up a run and a half to be fair to him. Just yeah, awful. In that video, in the Mets video, the Mets game that we spotlighted for this episode, you saw he didn't even make it out of the first inning. So, yeah, he's been absolutely horrendous in September, which is unfortunate, man, because he was one of the better arms that we had heading into the back half of the season. Tomaoka also had a pretty bad month. The numbers are about where they have been. Just a bad month for him. He walks a lot of people, and it's the long ball, man. He gives up a lot of hard hit contact, and he walks a lot of people. So it's not great, man. It's not good. And then Sunwoo Kim, his numbers stay about where they're supposed to be, man. He was our best starter, like, far and away, man. He probably has a future in our starting rotation moving forward, man, if you're going to pitch like this. I would love to see what close to 200 innings of Sunwoo Kim looks like, but 120 strikeouts to 40 walks, man. That's, yeah, in a 3.33 ERA. I will absolutely take that. That was a great performance from him. Dan Smith, I think that ERA is considerably a little bit lower. I think he had an ERA well over 6, so he had a good September, getting the numbers down a little bit. Still not great. I'm not going to praise a 5.80 ERA, absolutely not. TJ Tucker had a pretty terrible September. His ERA was still in the mid-2s, I think, when the month started, and it finishes at 3.20, which overall is not that bad, but yeah, again, I'm trying to highlight the month performances here because this is what really contributes to the record that you see. You know, the 69 to 93 is because we had guys like TJ Tucker who were absolutely terrible for the month of September. You know what I mean? We could have been maybe 73 and 90. You know what I mean? Like, it's a possibility, but Luis Ayala, I'm pretty sure when I started using him in August, he had an ERA well over 4, and now he finishes at 3.22 on the year, in 86 innings pitched, so I'm a big fan of that. He only had 2 saves, so I guess the sim really did not like my idea of using him in high leverage, even though that was what was working for me, was using him in high leverage. I don't even know why he's a long reliever, because his stamina is pretty low. But I mean, he had a decent September. So Rocky Biddle got his ERA all the way down under 6. He had an ERA over 8 when September started. So I guess the sim was really trying to use Rocky Biddle and get him involved in the mix here. His walk numbers are still absolutely astronomical compared to his strikeouts. So he's not a good pitcher, but he at least had a good September. So looks like the bullpen really kind of came together. And then Seth Griesinger, his ERA is down a little bit more. Strikeout numbers are absolutely insane. Even with the struggles that I had with him, in August, he'll still probably be a good piece for this team moving forward if he is still here. He's 30 years old. And then Chad Cordero just continued to get worse. Not very good. Just not very good. Not very good from him, the guy in our supposed closer role. I guess I could have shuffled. Jeez. I guess I could have shuffled the bullpen around how I wanted to use it for the sim, but I think it's fine the way that they tried to use it. I don't even know if Chad Cordero was the de facto. Yeah, he was 30 saves. So yeah, he was definitely the closer that they used. So I probably could have changed this up, and maybe all the work that I was doing with managing the games could have just been done here, because it's basically all I was doing. I didn't really change much on offense. I didn't do a lot of defensive substitutions or anything, or really change a lot of strategy with bunting and hit and run and stuff like that. I kind of put faith in the offense the way it was. I didn't want to really tamper with that. It was just pitching that I really wanted to control. So instead of the CPU leaving in Livian Hernandez for 6 or 7 innings when he's already given up 5 or 6 runs, I could pull him out in the third when he's got bases loaded and has already given up 2 or 3 runs. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That was really all I wanted to do, was to try and fudge some of these numbers and make them look a little bit more respectable. But I didn't really focus on changing that role in terms of simming. So maybe we could have won some more games that way. But it's fine. As I said at the very beginning of this series, it's the first attempt at this. So that's exactly what this is going to be. I'm going to learn a lot from this. And then, when and whenever I start a new series in MVP baseball, I'll have a lot more knowledge to carry with me. And I've also gotten some help from a very nice commenter who's been giving a lot of tips in the comment section of these videos. You can see us going back and forth. So we're learning a lot here moving forward, and then that's why I'm going to try and get this video up before we just get right into an off-season video, because I'm going to need a lot of prep work for a full off-season video. The last thing I will do, though, is I will go to, where is it? Oh, season wrap-up? Is it here? Okay, cool. Standing. I was like, where did it go? We'll look at the playoff picture, just look at how the league finished overall here. So in the NL East, the Mets end up winning the NL East. They take it from the Phillies. The Phillies find themselves 3 games behind. They did lose that series, mind you. I guess we played spoiler for the Phillies by taking that last series. They could have swept us and gotten back into the divisional race here, but they did not. So the Mets are the ones who take the NL East, but the Phillies still take the 1 wild card spot. So they're fine anyway. They're still in the postseason. And the Marlins actually didn't finish too far off either. They're only 2 games out of the wild card race in the National League, and we're technically kind of in play for the division, really, but they finished the game on a 3-game losing streak, so they probably got swept in their final series, which could have potentially put them in the postseason. So very tight race amongst the NL East, man. We have a tough division, apparently. So and then the Braves kind of continued their pace here. They had a 6-game tear to end the season to get them to 76 and 86, or else they probably would have finished about where we did to end the year, so here at the bottom. So in the AL West, the Athletics actually do manage to kind of pad their lead here and get to about 15 games or so above 500. Remember, this whole division was about under 500 for almost the entirety of the season, so the Athletics finally pulled away in a major way, and every other team in the AL West just fell by the wayside. We finished with the same record as the Rangers. So again, point out all the teams who have the same or worse record than we do. The Tigers, obviously, they took the AL Central kind of in the middle of the year, like June, and they just did not give it up. Took an 11-game gap over the Indians and White Sox, and they took the AL Central, even losing the last 3 games of the year. I guess they were just prepping for the postseason, since they're obviously going to be playing some. In the AL East, the Red Sox are the ones who end up on top. Again, kind of like the NL East, the Yankees fall short by about 3 games, even though they won 3 games, and the Red Sox lost 3 games. So that was really a 6-game gap that the Red Sox kind of sent to 3 by losing and getting swept in their final series of the year. And there wasn't much that the Yankees could do, so that division was probably clinched for the Red Sox probably a good week before the season was actually over. The Orioles finished 500, the Blue Jays 78 and 84, not too bad, and then the Devil Rays have just an absolutely horrendous year, man, just terrible. So better than them, and then better than the Royals as well, which I didn't point out. So in the NL West, the Padres do take the NL West title. They pad out their division lead by a handful of games over the Dodgers, who just could not keep up. The Rockies and Giants finish around 500. Well, the Rockies are 500, and then we finish with a better record than the Diamondbacks. So a few years removed from a World Series, and they're already 67 and 95. You hate to see it. And then in the loaded NL Central, the Cardinals do hang on and take the NL Central title. I want to say, is this the division where the Cardinals lost it in the last month? It might have been. They might have had a great September because the Reds were 9 games out. Maybe the Reds just had a terrible September. I don't know. But yeah, so the Cardinals take the NL Central here, and every team, again, just kind of in the same mix, man. Every team just a few games apart from each other. It's interesting. You know, it's the most teams in the division. They're all hanging around that mid-70s win total. So it's very interesting, just the division of mid. So it looks like your playoff scenario. So you have, maybe I can get a playoff tree. It says start advance to playoffs, and I'm kind of scared to do that. All right, I'm going to click it. Hold on. Oh, okay. So maybe this is where. So maybe we can see the playoffs here for our farm. For our farm affiliates. Yeah, it looks like we can. Sweet. So I might spotlight that before we get into the offseason. I would like to do that, man. If we have organizational stuff that's in the postseason, I would like to focus that. So maybe we'll do that in its own standalone episode before I finish the rest of this season, before we get into the offseason. But here is our playoff tree. I did want to show that, the playoff tree here. So does this include yeah, okay. I guess this is, yeah, we go right to our divisional series. I forget back in these days how the playoffs work in the MLB, because obviously we have 2 more wild cards now than we did back then. So, but here are how things are playing out. So the Tigers are going to be playing the Yankees in the divisional series. Now, fun fact, as it currently stands today, the Detroit Tigers are the only team in Major League Baseball, I guess in the American League, that have never lost to the Yankees in the postseason, ever.
That may sound like an amazing feat, but it's probably more so the fact that the Tigers have missed the postseason every time the Yankees have made it. So, but I think there is a big enough sample size. I think they're 12-0 all time against the Yankees in the postseason. So, but they will show down here, and I bet that record will not hold in this fictitious version of the MLB. And then the Red Sox and the Athletics are going to be playing in the divisional series as well on the other side of things. So we have a very realistic chance of getting the series in the championship series, which would be kind of crazy. And then on the National League side of things, the Mets are going to be playing the Cardinals in the divisional series, and then the Padres are going to be playing the Phillies. So very interesting kind of playoff tree. I really like the way this playoff tree looks. So I'm going to leave things hanging on this here, and we're going to end this episode. In the next episode, I might kind of recap or just kind of spotlight our AAA and AA teams, and we might watch some of that playoffs here and see if our minor leagues can do anything before we head into the official end of our first season here and cover the rest of awards and stuff like that, statistical leaders and things of that nature. So we might have a couple more episodes here before we officially end our first season of this Nationals series, and then we can finally get into the nitty-gritty of what this thing is supposed to be, with spring training, getting the prospects up, because clearly we have a lot, and finally getting some roster moves, maybe fixing our pitching staff and all that stuff. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I will just see you guys in the next episode when we focus on postseason around the entirety of Major and Minor League Baseball.